Hi, everyone. You're listening to Live with Necee, and I am your host, Opal Bailey. And I have with me Amaya from Project Response. Good morning, Amaya.
Good morning, Opal.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for coming on my show. And I want to just jump right into, can you please explain what is Project Response?
Project Response is a medical case management organization. We use Ryan White funds to provide case management and other services for people with HIV and AIDS.
And how do someone get in contact, or how can they come into this program with you? Can you explain what the process is?
Absolutely. We have an initial intake process. Well, first and foremost, we are located at 745 South Apollo Boulevard in Melbourne, Florida. The zip code is 32901. And you can call us at 321-724-1177. You would make that initial phone call and speak to one of the case managers or the intake specialist if she's in at the moment. And you will be told the requirements that you need. And then you would be set up with case management, where we make sure you get to see an infectious disease doctor and get involved with a pharmacy that can get you your medications and any other services that you may need at the moment.
And what services do Project Response offer?
The Ryan White program assures that you can have an infectious disease doctor, and they've expanded now to have dental services and ophthalmological services. We make sure that you get your meds. There are programs set up where you can get emergency medication. Then the Brevard County Health Department will be the one servicing your medications.
So if you're saying that, so your program is geared to someone who has HIV, AIDS, or what? What is it?
That's it. We only manage patients, or our clients have specifically HIV. We do not manage any other disability at this moment in time.
So do you also provide services to where they can come in and receive testing? And if so, what kind of testing and how the testing process works?
Absolutely. We provide free HIV testing from 9 to 4 every day. You need to bring an ID so that we can contact you if need be. The results are given at that moment if it's a negative. If there is a positive, it's not a confirmatory positive. It must be sent to the state. It takes about 2 weeks to get those results back. If you test positive with the second test, then it's pretty much a confirmatory result, in which case we can start case management.
So when you say start case management, what is the process of case management?
You are assigned a medical case manager at our office. We currently have 4. We just brought on the 4th person. And we pretty much help you manage your care.
And
we make sure that you have a doctor. We make sure that you're compliant with your care. We try to make it as easy as possible for you to live with this diagnosis and to see that it is no longer what society thinks it is. It is something that you can deal with. It's something you can live with. It is no longer a death sentence. But the most important thing is that you are able to manage your care, that you have support, from someone. If you don't have it from your family, we find a community help for you, churches, and that's what we're there for. We're there as your social worker to make sure that you are compliant with your care, and if you have any questions or concerns, you can always come to us.
So if a person has been diagnosed with HIV or AIDS, so I assume that they are two different things?
Yes. AIDS is once your CD4 count falls below 200, or you have one of 26 opportunistic infections. That they can vary. There's a list of them. So yes, you would be determined by your doctor to have surpassed that you don't just have HIV. Nowadays, with the medications, and they're coming up with new medications every day, there's less side effects. They're easier to manage. It's just one pill. Back in the day, it used to be 3, 4, or 5. And it's easier to be compliant with meds.
Okay, so if a person has HIV does that mean that they have AIDS, or does AIDS occur over time for not being treated when you first
Yes.
get, okay.
If you HIV is the virus itself. It's human immunodeficiency virus, and the process of that disease, AIDS, is acquired immune deficiency syndrome, and it is what happens once HIV has taken over and consumed the body. At this point in time, with meds, as previously stated, one does not need to be in those dire situations as we saw people in the 80s and the 90s. Sometimes if you're not aware of the disease, which is why testing is so important, and they're beginning to want to mandate that in doctors' offices as part of regular testing, because we don't have as much education about the virus as there used to be, and people are still, becoming infected. If they don't know, if it's something that doesn't even cross their mind, they don't get tested. And then sometimes they don't discover that they're ill until they're very, very ill and hospitalized. We want to avoid that. Once you do get ill, if you get on meds and you take care of yourself, within a few months, you will see that revert, and you will see that you can become a healthy individual again.
So the stigma of once you have AIDS, you just die, that stigma is no longer...
It's absolutely not the case anymore. And from what I understand, once you have reached an AIDS diagnosis, you really can't go back. And I wonder sometimes if that's going to change, because there are many people who no longer have an AIDS diagnosis after they get back on meds, or they find a different med. Sometimes the meds are not compatible. They're given, there's genetic testing is done more often now of the virus. We're beginning to see some resistance. If you have HIV-1 versus HIV-2, it's different as well. So once the resistance is determined and the right medication is given, and you are under the control of your doctor, you can go back and revert to being completely healthy with no AIDS symptoms at all. Your CD4 count can go back up, and your viral load, which is the goal, should be undetectable. The current medications make it so that if you test, you wouldn't even test as having a viral load. And that's the goal.
And so without having a viral load, that means that what your CD4 count is normal as a regular person, or?
It should be, it should go higher to the point where it can defend the body. So as far as there are normal labs, mm-hmm. and the CD4 count can fall within those normal labs as someone who does not have HIV. Yes.
So how can you encourage someone to come into your office to get tested, or what do you do for someone who they know they have it, but they're afraid to come out and admit it or say
anything? Think that's one of the biggest issues we see in our society nowadays. People who think that they possibly could have it and don't want to admit it, don't want to accept it, don't want to be tested. But it does all fall back on the stigma that there was in the 90s of HIV being a virus that affects certain groups of people. And that's not the case in any way, shape, or form. It's not a virus that's going to kill you anymore as long as you take care of yourself. So I think that the biggest thing that we need to do is exactly what's being done right now, is to educate people, is to let people understand that there's free testing out there. It takes 5 minutes to take the test, another 15 to get your results. And it's better to know and be able to take care of yourself than to not know. And number one, spread the disease. And number two, possibly get very, very ill. Yeah, I also wanted to mention, I'm sorry I didn't before, we also do testing at Empire in Cocoa, because since we're located in Melbourne, some people in Titusville, Mims, and Cocoa might find it easier to go to Empire Health Mart, and they're located at 1451 Dixon Boulevard in Cocoa. Their phone number is 321-549-5005, and they provide us a room at their pharmacy to do testing on Wednesdays from 11 to 3, and it is also free. So I encourage anyone in North Brevard to feel free and go to this pharmacy who has so kindly given us a spot for us to test.
And is it safe to say that with the medication, do they have to go? I mean, of course, they have a physician and they have their own doctors and stuff. Do they go into a regular pharmacy like we normally, like a regular person do? Or do they provide, how do they receive their medication? Is it mailed? Is it?
If you are getting it through the health department, you have to go pick it up monthly at the health department in Vieira, and they provide that service. That's if you don't have insurance. This is a government-funded program for patients with HIV because the medications can run from $1,000 to $3,000 a month.
That's really good to know. That is taken care of. That we don't have to worry about. Oh, I don't have insurance, so I'm not going to get checked, or I'm not going to go and get the help.
Right. Absolutely. If you do not have insurance, it should not be a hindrance for you being tested or thinking that you're going to go bankrupt because of this particular virus. Yes.
And so even with the virus, and if a family member has it, just say, for example, one family member has it and they're living together with the rest of the family that doesn't have it, how are they to treat the one who doesn't have it? You know, what is some things they may have to watch out for, or you see what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, we speak about universal precautions, which is assume that everyone that you meet has HIV and treat it accordingly. Pretty much the instant the virus touches oxygen, hits the air, it dies. So you don't really have to worry about that. That's why no one's ever gotten HIV from eating at a restaurant where someone may have cut their finger and not realized. It is spread through sexual contact. It is found in blood. So you can get it if you're an intravenous drug user. And it is also spread from mother to child. It can be in utero, which fortunately the medications have reduced transmission. I think it's like 2 to 0.02%. Very few cases of children born with HIV nowadays, and most of them are to mothers who refused to get the test while they were pregnant. It can also be transmitted through the birth process, which is why if you're not, unless you're undetectable, doctors will recommend you have a C-section, and it can also be passed on through breast milk. Therefore, if you are HIV positive, it is recommended that you do not breastfeed. So that's pretty much it. Sexual contact, IV drug use, and mother to child.
So the theory of you can catch it through IV, far as in the hospital, or blood transfusions.
That was the case before they tested all blood transfusions and all hemophiliac products in the 80s and 90s. That is not the case anymore. It's safe to get a blood transfusion for both HIV and Hep C, for that matter, I should say, because that's important as well.
So how would a person know if they should be tested?
If you have sex that is unprotected, you should be tested, even if you are a boy. My HIV teacher in college used to say, there's no such thing as a perfect penis. You can have a cut on your penis. It is very rare for a man to get it from a woman. It is not impossible. So if you have unprotected sex, and you're not in a monogamous relationship, you should be tested. And we offer free testing. So I think everyone should test themselves every 6 months. But I'm from the 90s. I'm from that era where I thought everyone should. And I still think, no. And STDs are prevalent anyways. And if you have had an STD before, it's possible that you're engaging in behavior that may make you more prone to get HIV as well. So, if you get tested,
So even say, for instance, one person had received the test for HIV. You mentioned that it's another test that needs to be followed through that. Yes. So what if he just had one test? Is it automatically the second one should be done? Or if they...
with the type of